Hello.
Les.
Hello. Yeah.
Les. It's Cue Ball Carmichael and Drew Skills.
Well, that's double trouble, right?
You know that, brother. We'll get you high and we'll get you low. How are you tonight, my friend?
Not bad for an old man on Tuesday evening. How about yourself?
I'm aging fast, but I'm doing okay.
Good. Well, you don't care about the company you hang out with when you hang out with the Drew.
It's true, but he promised to buy the beers the next time we're at the bar, so I'm going to go with it.
Wow. I know he keeps telling me, I'm coming over and we're going to have lunch. If I were waiting on that, I'd starve to death several times.
Yeah, tell him to ask for the blue guy, the guy that held his breath till he got there.
Yeah.
Hey, Les, I wanted to jump right in it with you, and I had something I had to talk to you about, and I've heard this before, I've heard you say this before, but I've heard Mary Elizabeth Monroe say it, and it's so true, and I tell my guys the same thing, to watch these shows like The Voice or American Idol, and to listen to the critique of the judges, and to listen how they can make the people feel better. And, the great thing about The Voices, this year especially, is they talked mainly about the connection that the singers had with the crowd.
Yes. That you mentioned that, I just put The Voice on pause while I was waiting on you guys. I went through, pardon the interruption, and I was just queuing The Voice up. Yeah, last night the first battle.
Oh my God!
That you mentioned that because I said, American Idol, The Voice, America's Got Talent, but I said the point is that those judges are asking the same thing from those entertainers is that what an audience is asking from you. Emotionally connect with us. If you're just going through the motions or with them, if they're just mouthing the words, there's no connect and so it doesn't get over. But like those two last night, man, they took us to church. I mean, real.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, go ahead.
And I was just saying, I think across the board, that's what the business is missing. Everybody just going through the motions.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's the, I think there's a lot of reasons why that is. And of course, a lot of it starts with the training with people. But, I watched the, Voice every season. Last season, the young kid that won it, Sawyer Fredericks, was 16 years old.
Oh yeah, I liked him a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He connected instantly from the first night he was there. But about 3 weeks before the finals, he sung Leonard Skinner's Simple Man. I looked at my wife. I said, he's going to win the show. She goes, I don't know. He's kind of young. I said, no. I said, everybody in that crowd was on the edge of their seat with their eyes glaring on him. And I looked at myself, and I was doing the same thing at home, like going, oh, my God, this guy's unbelible. And if you can get me...
He was a little bit of James Taylor,
yes.
A little bit of Bob Dylan. But, yeah, he was really a cool kid, considering that he had spent all his life on the farm and really... they ask him, I think Pharrell or somebody asked me, how can you put so much life into your song and you've never lived much life,
Right. Yeah.
But he made you feel it. That's the bottom line. It's, and I don't care, it's just this, the sad thing, is that at the independent level is where you need to sell more wrestling, first of all, for the young guys to get that kind of foundation. But, my philosophy is this. If I want to see what's done on Raw or TNA or Ring of Honor and see it done badly, I sit home and watch.
Yes,
it doesn't cost anything. If I'm going to pay 10 or 15 or 20 bucks or whatever, whatever part of the country you're in for an indie show, maybe I want to see something different, which might be wrestling. Because, that's the thing these kids don't understand either, Hugh, is, I know what I saw on Raw and I'll do that. The first thing when we did the Charlotte camp this year, the first thing that Jerry Briscoe said to the entire group was, please, I'm not interested in seeing a lot of crazy high spots. I want to know, can you work? Can you wrestle? Do you understand psychology, facial expressions, body language? That's the foundation, and that's what they'll turn you into a goof if that's what they want, but they want to know if you can work. Hello?
True. Don't interrupt us. We're talking to Les Thatcher.
Huckabee?
Did we lose it?
No, we're trying to add somebody here, and hopefully we can get that done. You know, it's funny that you say that, but you know, it's like when I fashioned this promotion that I run in the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling League. The whole concept behind that is to offer a product that nobody else is currently offering, which is just get down and wrestle in the middle. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just not done that much anymore. And I gotta believe, especially here in the old NWA market, I mean, there's still some fans here, but I think young fans that come just to see wrestling are going to get sold on this because it's so competitive and so realistic compared to what you see on television that they're going to look at it, and it's going to be, I think, an alternative and unique product because you and I have all seen people that copy WWE, and every one of those groups fails miserably, and because you're never going to be able to compete with that checkbook. So, you know, let him do his thing and try to do something, offer an alternative product, and you probably have a much better chance.
And the problem now on the major shows that are on television, there is really no alternative. They all have, the comedy thing is overdone, ridiculous, gimmicks, you know, and everybody's guilty of it. And now, so that's to trickle down, and the pseudo trainers and the pseudo promoters, that are just, it's a hobby and they watch it on television, so they obviously know how to do it. You know, and the kids, well, you know, a lot of times, when I was up in New England last weekend, you know, this young man, and he was trying, but he didn't have a clue. And I said, how long you been doing this? He said, 2 years.
Ooh.
And I said, you know, and I won't mention, I forget honestly the name of whoever trained the guy, but I said, oh my God, I said, and I pointed to Bob Evans and Antonio Thomas and this young man, Ryan Waters, who is the one that brought me. I said, see these people, talk to them because you're wasting your time. And sadly enough, that's a huge percentage of the indies. I don't care what part of the country you're in.
Oh, I agree with you. You know, these guys watch wrestling on TV and they go out and duplicate it at an armory. And, oh, hello. And you know as well as I do, Les, that a television.
Well,
hey, what's going on? Hold on a second. What happens, Les, is a TV match has always been different than a house show match. And these kids never go and watch a house show match. They go, I had a friend of mine call me who's a fan and said, wow, I went to a WWE event that wasn't televised and they only had 6 matches and the guys went out there and wrestled for like 15 minutes. I said, well, that's what they do. But these kids, you know, independent shows are basically house shows, but these kids go out and they watch what's on TV, which a Monday night on Raw is nothing more than a video game. It's high speed, 100 miles an hour, guys that look like video game characters. And then they try to duplicate that in an army full of people, and it makes no damn sense. Nobody invests in it. Nobody buys into it. And you got a crowd.
And it's like it's Halloween, and look, little cue balls dressed up like. So, you know, I mean, that's, you know, it's like you or I or Drew are going out to watch our kids play softball or volleyball or whatever, and the neighborhood kids, not because it's great to watch, because they're our kids.
Right.
And, you know, so you're putting 50, 75 people in a place, and half of them are family. It doesn't, you know, that's not a test for anybody. It's just, it's a bad situation. And you know, how do you rectify it? You know, you weed these things out, but then, you know, that's, you play hell trying to do that as well. I don't know. It's like the dog chasing its tail to a certain degree, you know, and
I agree with
you. Know, but, you know, it's like they talk about the Raw ratings and I said, okay, the guys who are supposed to be the heels, one of them plays the trombone, so they're cool. And so everybody cheers the people who are supposed to be the heels. Cena's supposed to be the lead babyface, and everybody boos him. I said, am I missing something here? You know, the Bella twins are babyface one minute and heel the next, and as are the dastardly owners who are humanitarians in one segment and Mr. and Mrs. Bitch in the other segment. I mean, if again, it comes back to where we started here. If you don't reach out and make people, well, you know, here's the other thing too, and I'm strongly believe this. 50 years ago, 45 years ago, whatever.
Back when you were working with Whitey?
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah. Lord. I worked with Abraham Lincoln. What can I tell you?
We're gonna go down a little of your history because I'm a bit of a historian and I know probably more about you than a lot of people, but I like to educate the audience a little bit on the history of wrestling. So we're gonna do that in a couple minutes, if you don't mind.
Okay. Cool. No, you know, we could have gotten away with, we got away with some crazy things back 50 years ago that shouldn't fly today, but yet people keep trying to put them in the air. But the thing of it is, there was nothing to compare our business with 50 years ago.
Right.
And today, if you watch MMA just a little bit, and then you come back and you know pro wrestling is bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so we need to be more about the precise details, facial, body language, psychology, how to tell a story. And again, somebody will say, well, everybody knows it's work. I said, yeah, I got wise to movies when I was about 9 years old. But I said, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Larry Hageman as J.R. Ewing, up to the point he was too sick to work, hooked me, you know, because he's a hell of a heel. And I know that's a work. Heel.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because he was I Dream of Jeannie's boyfriend. So, you know, it's a work. He was a good guy first. He was a babyface first. But you know what? You're exactly right. And it's the same thing. Listen, guess what? Michael Bay movies. Everybody knows Bruce Willis didn't really save the world in Armageddon. They know that Tom Cruise is not Mission Impossible 3 guy, really. Ethan, whatever his name is. And you know what? They know that Shia LaBeouf in Transformers did not fight robots from outer space and save the world too. But guess what? People want to be entertained. And if it's good acting with a good script with action that's tight and firm, people will buy into that and go to be entertained. But when they see sloppy crap that couldn't pass for wrestling if the guy was half blind, they're not going to get invested in that. They're not going to come back to see that.
You know, I'm crazy with analogies, as Drew probably has told you or will tell you, or I'll tell you. But anyway, you know, the comparison is the movie that wins Best Drama at the next Academy Awards will, in terms of the fundamentals of how to make that drama an award-winning movie, aren't any different than they were in 1950. The technology is different, the verbiage is different, the costuming is different, but the fundamentals that created that are the same. And that's the thing that beats, you know, that drives me nuts with the business, is everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel, and there's no need to do that. You know, it's just the fun, you know, well, that, you know, it's almost like it's a history book on how not to run a wrestling business.
Absolutely. You know, I tell people this, and don't give this away because I know you know it. But in 1980, the number one most awarded movie of the year was Chariots of Fire. How many people watched that in the last 20 years? The movie that was given the worst review is called Caddyshack, and it's watched over 1 million times a year. Still. So, you know, one's entertaining and one is the perfect way to do it, but there was no entertainment value to it.
Yeah. You know, and I think, during the Monday Night Wars, WCW, made a lot of sense in the fact that they had lucha, they had cruiserweights, they had heavyweights, they were diverse. And so, you know, and for me, I watched WCW for the cruiserweights, and I watched WWE for the Steve Austins and the Bret Harts.
Right, absolutely.
You know, because they had the stronger group at the top that could actually work.
Right.
And WCW had those guys, well, you know, those cruiserweights that Benoit and Malenko, for Christ's sake. who were tremendous workers. So, but I think the versatility is one of the things that kept WCW on time. And of course the NWO angle until they made everybody in Fulton County in the NWO. And
that's a true story. Hey, I think we got our pal Will Huckabee joining us here on the Undisputed Wrestling Show on AngryMarks.com, where we're talking to wrestling icon Les Thatcher with my buddy Drew Skills. And Mr. Huckabee, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Mr. Thatcher, it's an honor and a pleasure to talk to you.
This is our buddy Will Huckabee. Will Huckabee's the NWA Continental Heavyweight Champion here in Eastern North Carolina. And I got the pleasure of seeing him wrestle for the first time in about 3 years, about 2 weeks ago. And the man has decided to take his craft as serious as you can get. And not that he was a bad wrestler before, but what a tremendous improvement this man has made in the last 2 or 3 years. I'm really proud of the way that he's studied and he's worked hard and physically he looks great and, good guy. So Will, what I'm going to let you do is I'm going to let you ask my buddy Les one question. No, you can ask as many as you want. I'm just kidding.
Well, I wanted to keep on what you guys were talking about as far as, entertainment value and what people are doing right now and stuff in the state of the indies. Mr. Thatcher, I was listening to you and Q talk and stuff. Do you believe that the biggest problem with the indies is the fact that, a lot of promoters and a lot of vets, a lot of the boys complain about what's wrong and that we don't have realism and that MMA is basically out indie wrestling. But can we blame the promoters and the bookers who are booking these same guys that you say are killing the business, Several times I've been on Facebook and I've heard people complain about these small guys wearing kick pads and no gear. But when you look at a lot of these top indie companies, and I'm not going to mention any names or whatever, but that's what you see, and that's what you see these promoters booking. They're not booking the guys who are legitimately working and not doing hot spot after hot spot.
Well, you know what? I think they are booking some of the guys that can actually work, but those guys are in a business that if they're paid to do other, because I've talked to a couple guys, and I won't mention names either, that that have when I ran booked a year-long tournament in LA a couple of years ago. I used a lot of guys that are pretty versatile, and you see them work for some company. You might see them in the air a lot, but for us, they were more grounded and did more classical professional wrestling. But anyway, it's the promoter wants to see something. And a lot of times an inexperienced person, I saw this on Raw last Monday, so we need to do that too. Or I saw this and we need to do that. So a lot of it's the inexperience. How do you get around that? You're, as a wrestler, you're hired gun. And making a living on the indies is a grind. And, so you gotta take bookings, You just, the simplicity of making it better is the legitimate promoters only book good talent, and the good talent only works for legitimate promoters. But that's never going to be the case. As an old timer said to me one time, we're all whores, just a matter of establishing price.
That's right. That's right.
So, and it is, and it's a grind. Especially it's harder today. When I started in the business 55 plus years ago, I started in the business. I wrestled, and for years and years and years I wrestled. You guys can't do that, and I understand that. But the point is, they don't give out mercy contracts. WWE or TNA or they're not benevolent companies. So you have to, do you have to pay your dues? I get tired of hearing that, but yeah, you have to know your craft, and, how do you do that? You get, you try to work with better people. It's not about popping the boys in the back, and it's not about popping, your mom and dad or or your cousin or your Uncle Joe. It's about working in the right places so you get seen, in the right light and then you get, people start to talk and maybe you get a shot. A lot of it's being in the right place at the right time. But when you are in the right place, if you don't have the right tools, then it don't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Mr. Thatcher. Stuff. I was reading or watching a documentary on YouTube and stuff with Al Snow. It was one of those guest booker series or whatever. And he was saying that, he was in the business for 20 years before he had ever heard the phrase 5-star match. Back when he first started out, it was more about, how many tickets he sold and everything. But how long, when did you first hear the phrase, 5-star match? And do you think that that's when a lot of the boys and stuff started working, to more promote and pop the boys in the back than to actually sell tickets?
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of the guys work for the internet. I know when I first got on the internet and realized how vicious some 110-pound guy could be behind a keyboard. I got incensed once in a while myself, but so a lot of times these guys, they work for for the internet or the boys in the back. But yes, well, all the years that I spent in the ring, you got paid for what spot you were in on the card.
Right.
And so you had a reason to be better. You had a reason to work your way to the top, and you still should have that. I mean, when I had a company, I don't care if you were my son or my, brother or whatever. If you didn't fit the bill, you didn't fit the bill. To me, everybody shouldn't be a champion. And everybody certainly shouldn't be your top guy, whether that's your world champion in WWE or your regional champion in ABC promotion someplace. I think your champion at whatever level should be versatile enough to work with a wide range of styles and people and be able to do with that belt what you need done. So that would eliminate some people. I would have never made Kevin Steen a champion, not because he's not a good worker, not for, but he's a overweight barroom brawler. And to me, he doesn't need a championship. He needs to be himself. That should be strong enough. I don't necessarily like, gimmicks as title holders. The Briscoe brothers I like and I'm not talking about Jack and Jerry. I'm talking about, the Briscoes in Ring of Honor. They're entertaining, nice kids. Would I make them world champion? No, not, and that doesn't mean they're not good workers. Just means that doesn't fit what I want, and that's there again, it comes back to what do these promoters pay for? And some promoters pay for you to imitate what they saw on television.
Exactly. Hey, Les, I wanted to add, go ahead. You got another question, Mr. Huckabee?
Oh, go ahead. I can always speak to Mr. Thatcher and stuff. Go ahead, speak to.
I want to take a little ride down memory lane with you, if I can.
Okay, sure.
For people that don't know, tell us about your one tag team partner you had, I think for quite a while, Roger Kirby.
Oh my God, Curb, yeah. I haven't seen him, I didn't get to go to, Scott Teal's get together in Tennessee this year. And Curb was there, but, that was the last time he and Dennis Hall and I got together was at, Scott's a couple years ago. Oh, yeah, Roger and Dennis Hall and I all, they're both Indiana boys, born and bred. And, of course, I broke in up in Boston, but when I came down here and first went to work for Barnett, I met those guys. And we were all just preliminary guys getting our feet wet and everything, got to be buddies. And, so anyway, the whole Cousins thing started in Atlanta when Leo Garibaldi put Kirby and I together, and Hall and Kirby had been together, and Hall had a chance to go to Tampa and did. So anyway, I don't know why we came up with the Cousins thing, but we did. So we spent a lot of time on the road together, in several different territories. Roger's a hell of a worker. I think the nicest thing I ever heard said, in a short story about Roger's talent was Harley Race said, the only difference between Roger Kirby and I is I got a break.
Yep. That's the difference sometimes. Yeah.
But Kirby's a hell of a worker. And of course a lot of fun. Yeah, we had a hell of a time together. We certainly did. And they're family. We lost Dennis, It's been almost 2 years ago now. But,
Gotcha.
yeah, that was, the last time, Teal he had an old picture out of a Wrestling Review magazine of the three of us sitting at a table, I think in a Kmart in Hapeville, Georgia or some damn place. But anyway, he had us sit at his dining room table exactly the same way. And then he shot the picture, and it's on one of his websites somewhere. The picture from Atlanta in '66, and then the picture from his place at I think it was 2000. I think it was 13.
Probably not much difference.
Yeah, right. Not a lot. Yeah.
You know who else I wanted to ask you about? A couple guys, but Whitey Caldwell.
Oh man.
His career was cut short, but he was, he was big time. I mean, he was for a guy who worked in an area with not a lot of TV and worked in a specific area. I mean, everybody knew who he was back in the 60s.
Yeah. Well, he and Ron Wright started in the YMCA or the boys clubs or whatever it was up in the Tri-Cities, Johnson City, Kingsport, Bristol area.
Right.
And, I first, in '68, when I came into work, the Nashville office, John Kazana in Knoxville was getting his talent out of there. And that, excuse me, that's where I first, met Whitey and the Wrights and that whole crew. But the crazy thing back in the, I know Kazana said, you'd make a good partner for a local guy here. And I didn't say anything but back then when you were doing it for a living, the local guy wasn't a guy you wanted to be teamed up with.
Right, exactly.
Because usually the local guy was just at best a mid-carder,
right.
or sometimes just a guy they used for jobs. And so anyway, long story short, when I saw Whitey work, I thought, oh Christ, this guy could, he's a hell of a hand. Whitey was a hell of a worker and got it. Well, the feud with he and Ron Wright got them both over like $1 million.
Right.
And you mentioned no TV. Kazana didn't have TV in '68 when I first went in there. When he teamed us up, we were the first baby faces on, and then he got television in '69. And we were the first baby faces to get over on their TV. And Ron and Don Wright were the first heels. And, so we had a red hot feud in there for a long time. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, we set an attendance record at the amphitheater in Shohei Park, the outdoor place that we worked in the summer there. An attendance that has held through other wrestling companies. We've been beat box office wise because the ticket prices went up.
Right.
But in terms of number of people, that record that we set there, it was either late '69 or in '70. I don't remember. But anyway, that record still holds today, I think.
Now talk a little bit. I know we lost Ron Wright this past year, and he was an incredible talent. Ron and Don brothers, but Ron Wright had "I want to kill you" type heat. Did he not?
Oh yeah. Well, he had 170 a scar that ran from the base of his neck to his waistline that took 175 stitches to close. So I would call that pretty good heat. I'm not sure.
Wow. That's crazy. But he was on the other side, he was. I guess he was a really good guy, a really nice guy. Because, you hear people talk about people over time